DeMeco Ryans spoke to the media today. Week 1, baby. Los Angeles Rams. I almost said St. Louis Rams. DeMeco, are you excited about the start of college football and pro football this week?
There's no better time than football time, as everybody can feel that excitement in the air from watching college football over the weekend.
No, you're an Alabama alum. I don't think you're as excited as you could have been or should have been, given the state of affairs. First off, before I even get to the good injury news, there is zero concern of mine that somehow Alabama is going to money whip DeMeco into taking that head coaching job. DeMeco specifically wanted to come back to Houston because he played here, because his family is here, and because he's on a team that's on the rise. There's no need to run and flee right now. I'm not worried about this. Is something to worry about 10 or 15 years from now, perhaps. But the good injury news, when asked about whether or not C.J. Gardner-Johnson would play this week, did the Texans play it close to the best? Here's DeMeco.
Yeah, C.J. is doing really well, progressing fine. We expect him to be ready for week 1.
Which excites me to no end because, this is the version of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That honestly, it's such a game changer. He's a ball hawk, and he's matured. He talked this offseason about how he knew in the Super Bowl he had to just kind of lay back and not always be trying to make big hits or big plays all the time. So I think that you're catching C.J. Gardner-Johnson at a point in his career where he's learned a lot of things from perhaps some of the errors of his youth, and he's a more mature version of himself. But more than anything, it just turns that defensive backfield into just an absolute, a tornado of uncertainty when you're a quarterback looking downfield and having to throw towards this guy. Not to mention if you're a receiver coming off the middle or what have you. And, Matt Stafford is dealing with a little thing of the little problem of herniated discs in his back. So I feel really good about C.J. Gardner-Johnson being in the mix. He's been moving around really well from what we've been able to see of him. So it's obviously not nearly as drastic an injury as we had feared at the beginning or after the fallacious report. DeMeco, on the changes that he's seen in the offense and what he likes about them.
What I've liked about our offense is I really like just how detailed our guys are.
Wait a second.
Our guys they're on it. What I've liked about our offense is I really like just how detailed our guys are. Our guys they're on it. When it comes from a schematic standpoint, there are not a ton of missed assignments. Guys are playing fast. Guys are playing together. And that's the main thing that I want to see, guys playing together. No hesitation, playing fast. Our brand of football is play fast, play relentless, it's swarm. And that's what I want to see from the offensive side of the ball. We've seen that from the defensive side, special teams. Now the offense just play that way, and think K-Lee gives us the best. He's given us the best chance to play that way.
Yeah, and I think he just flat out said it. The swarm on the offensive side of the ball, it's what we were asking for all offseason long. DeMeco said there needed to be a culture change in the O-line room. I think we've seen that. Now they got to actually play against regular season opponents and bring that element of swarm. I think last night on KHOU, I said that by week 8, this is what I wanted the offense to look like. I wrote it down on a notepad with my perfect cursive handwriting. What do you want the offensive line to look like by week 8? Murderous goons with an insatiable bloodlust. That's all I want. That's all I want in life. I don't even need them to be that good. I just want them to be psychotic whack jobs. I want to be the kind of guys that you cross over to the other side of the room if you see him. If you see Jake Andrews walking in and eyeballing you, you're wondering if the guy wants to kill you. Just a little bit of that. Just whatever the opposite of last year was, that's what I want to see. But they do have Nick Caley, first-time offensive coordinator, and DeMeco's asked about, I think the question was, what advice could you give him based on your experience as a first-time play caller? And DeMeco said, "Shut up, fool. I don't have to give him no advice about nothing."
Kaylee is ready to go. Kaylee's been through a ton of situations all through training camp, all through OTAs. We've been through a lot of different situations. All right, he's called a ton of plays throughout the offseason, throughout training camp, in the preseason games. He has reps on task, so he's ready to go.
Yeah, this is what I always worry about with first-time coordinators. Are they going to try to do everything all at once? Are they going to try to they're going to try to present the most brilliant game plan that ever was? We saw it with Bobby Slowick in the first year, the Ravens game, where they were just doing all the pre-snap notion. Well, you've got a rookie quarterback down with, and I believe Juice Scruggs started that game. It was too much. It was too much. We saw it with Mike Vrabel in his first time as a defensive coordinator, where I felt like he did too much too soon, which surprised me because I thought Vrabel had probably been there, done that, seen all of it, but they can't help themselves sometimes. I think the one really good thing about Caley, or what makes me optimistic that he won't try to do that, is that ever since he got here, it's been very much a message of nailing the fundamentals, of getting the simple stuff right, and then building from there. And that's how they operated during camp. I think they were painfully methodical in the way that they were just installing the offense, getting the basics right, and then all of a sudden, like 2.5 weeks into it, you started to see it click a little bit. Plus, DeMeco's really big on situational football. I think DeMeco, obviously, him working with Caley is going to be guided by his own experience and his experiences with Bobby, perhaps. So any of the pitfalls that they may have made mistakes with Bobby, DeMeco's a more grizzled veteran head coach now, and he's also been spending a lot of time on the offensive side of the ball. Really big step in the evolution of DeMeco as a head coach, I think, is all of the time that he spent with the offense this year. This is DeMeco on what he thinks the most important part or aspect of this game is going to be this week.
Yeah, this game, I think, ultimately.
Oh, and I'm going to put some Jared Verse highlights on here. Yeah, that's right. I compiled another list of Jared Verse highlights because you have to see this one. Now, the one I showed earlier today was kind of tame compared to this.
It is right now, as I continue to go through it in my mind, I think it really hinges upon both offensive lines blocking two really talented defensive lines. The Rams have one of the best young defensive lines in the NFL with Verse, Fisk, Turner, Young. It was a young group, and those guys they get after it. They play relentless. They're tough. They're going to be a really, really good group to challenge our offensive line, and the same for their offensive line versus our defensive line. We have a really good group up front, one of the strengths of our team, and we have to – it's going to be a challenge to see how that shapes up.
The Rams do have a good offensive line, and I apologize. I get so excited about watching Jared Verse. I'm so glad he's not in the Texans division because I'm a big fan of this dude. When you see, I'm showing this almost because I've seen people say, well, he only had 4.5 sacks last year. How good could he be? One of his problems and why he only had 4.5 sacks was because there were multiple instances where he was bull rushing a guy straight past the quarterback. He was destroying him so badly that he couldn't stop his momentum, and he just just like that. I told you. He's worked on that. He's refined that. He said he spent way more time working on his speed rush moves this offseason than on his power moves. So I think just like Will Anderson, who was very much a power rusher in his rookie year, he's going to be more refined and he's going to be better. The part about the bull rush and how physical he is look, Titus Howard or anybody else is going to have issues versus Jared Verse. He's a problem. He's a headache. Nick Caley's going to have to account for some of this, and you're going to have to give help with Jared Verse. But Ariante Ursary is a guy that is big, is massive, can absorb contact, but sometimes lets guys into his chest a little too readily. And this is going to be a big test for him. I'm very, very bullish on Ariante Ursary, but this is one of the toughest challenges he's going to have all year, except for the times when he's going against two really good pass rushers in practice. So as much as I love what Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter can do for the Texans defensively, I really like that they've been preparing Ariante Ursary. And he's going to see an element of speed and athleticism from Danielle that's a lot different than really anybody else in the league. When it comes to the power stuff, I think his time versus Will Anderson is going to be really helpful. But I know you guys, some of you guys have gotten annoyed about me fanboying over Jared Verse, but you can see what I'm talking about. It's very, very good. Sean McVay, also a very good head coach. Here's DeMeco on Sean McVay. Just a little snippet. He polished him up for about 3 minutes, so I cut out the best part.
Went against him a lot, and it's always been a tough challenge. He does a really good job with the motions, timing things up properly, putting defenses in conflict. by all the motions and the snap points. So he does a really great job, really smart coach, really prepared. So looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, and obviously his time when he was in San Francisco faced McVay a whole bunch, both as when DeMeco was an assistant linebackers coach and then when he was the defensive coordinator. I think the big thing there and to take from is all of the pre-snap motion, all the things that McVay does to put defenses in conflict. One of the things DeMeco does really well as a teacher and as a coach is you teach the defense that, look, everybody's running the same thing, basically. There aren't that many football plays to draw up offensively, but how you get to them and what the motion means, how you adjust to the motion and understanding what they're trying to get to, that's the tough thing. But that once you get that, it simplifies everything for you. So with the film work, with the walkthroughs, with practice this week, there's going to be a whole lot of, all right, what's window dressing? What are they actually trying to do here? Which brings us to the next part. DeMeco is asked about having played against Sean McVay a lot. Does that affect how you game plan or how you think about the upcoming game?
Nothing. It's all fresh. It's all new. That's the cool part about game planning and prepping. Like for me, you have past history, but for me, I don't harp on that too much, and I don't get too bogged down on that. It's really the focus on what our guys do well, allowing them to go play fast. You can get bogged down on all the extra stuff, the window dressing, but you just got to let guys go play fast, especially first game. There are a ton of wrinkles. Their guys haven't played in the preseason at all, so it'll be the first time we see their outfit out, and we'll see how they're utilizing guys, where they're going to use Davante Adams, how does Puka, what is his role, so it's a lot of unknown, especially with these guys. So I don't go in trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, it's a classic. If you start going too far down the road of like, well, he knows that I know that he knows that I know, all of a sudden you're spending all your time getting ready to coaching against ghosts and what might be or what you suspect. I think the biggest advantage really comes in having gone against a guy is a lot of the in-game stuff where, the really smart coaches that have this encyclopedic memory of, oh yeah, on third down, in this instance, 3 years ago, this is what they leaned on or this is what they went to. And everything that DeMeco said there, 100%. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about. You don't know exactly how they're going to use Puka Nacua this year. It changed when Cooper Kupp got injured. They used Puka Nacua differently. But then, hey, when you have an entire offseason with Puka Nacua and Davante Adams on the same team, how are they going to use them? You can't go in guessing too much. And the first week especially, I think, like Sean McVay has shown an ability to adapt and change his scheme over time. They're a much different offense, and they operate a lot differently than they did in the first few years. And some of that change has happened just even the last 2 or 3 years since DeMeco left. Likewise, look, hey, Nick Caley knows a lot about the things they've been doing and what they'd like to do. But if he starts thinking he knows what Sean McVay is going to do or want to do, McVay's going to fool you. So I again, when we get into the mentality of coordinators entering a game like this, I really take it at face value when they say they don't try to get overly cute or like really lean hard into the espionage or knowing another guy's philosophy. You just got to go out there and play the game as it comes to you. So I think that's all I have for today. Let me check the comments real quick. Tim Ryan predicts verse comes, but it's a screen to the right. Woody Marks with a spin move at the sticks and bounces back inside for the score. I hope that you're clairvoyant in some way, and then we can come back and all have a good laugh over that about how it ended up. Kasia asks, how do you estimate our chances, Seth? I like the Texans in this game. For one, you have to remember this. The Rams, notoriously slow starters, which is something that I used to say about Alex Bregman. And then this year he goes off and goes out on an absolute tear. But they've gotten off to slow starts in the last 3 years. At the beginning of the season, Matt Stafford is trying, like, it's a major injury update every day when they say, hey, Matt Stafford made it all the way through practice. He's camping out in some futuristic science bus. It looks like a glorified meth trailer with all kinds of physiological gizmos for him, and he's going against that defensive line that DeMeco was talking about. The Rams' offensive line is a good and solid offensive line. It's not incredible. It's not one of the best in the league, but I would say at worst they're an average offensive line. The biggest thing that concerns me is that I worry that maybe I've gotten a little too bullish about the Texans' offensive line. To remind everybody of the challenge, this is the where'd we go? That's their okay. So there's a PFF ranking on the offensive line. They re-signed Jackson in free agency, which ranked 18th among all offensive PFF grades. Bah humbug. His efforts in elite run blocking from Kevin Dotson and Rob Havenstein should make this unit good enough in 2025. But the one I really wanted to look at was this. All right, so this is the rush stuff rate, if you look all the way over to the right there. And the Houston Texans were 31st in the league in a bad way. They were the second worst when it came to rush stuff. 21.6% of the time was either a tackle for no gain or a tackle for a loss. I do feel much, much better about that this year. Part of it is just the scheme and the play calling that Kaylee's been utilizing so far. It presents more of a solid mass of humanity up front, makes it a lot harder for penetrators, makes it easier for offensive linemen to pick up slants in games and everything else like that in the run game. So I feel good about that. I don't need this to be all of a sudden, a redux of Earl Campbell out there or anything. Woody Marks, as multiple of you have mentioned, I think is one of the huge X factors in this game. I think the biggest thing that keeps rookies off the field in the NFL is that coaches just can't trust them. And with Woody Marks, he's demonstrated very impressively that he can handle his business in pass protection. He's very, very smart when it comes to rookie standards especially. And when it comes to adopting and adapting to the playbook and everything, I think they're going to lean into him heavily. So the running backs are going to be productive in this game, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's 150 yards rushing. I think the running backs out of the backfield are going to be a big part of it as well. So, all right, I'm going to call it a day. I got to go catch up on Sherlock Holmes. You guys know this. Please like, subscribe. Also, the audio version of a lot of these YouTubes are going to be available on the Believe in Texans podcast. So I know a lot of you just have been asking me for a podcast version. Go to Believe in Texans twice a week. It's me and Cecil, and it'll be a lot more of just me individually from my YouTube shows. Thank you, everybody. Like, subscribe, etc.